laughter and a circular battle. Burn all you would see behind.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Reads. Super sleepy. I got like 3.5 hours of sleep, but I'm gonna try and be coherent in this review of a story that I love from Dark Matter 2 by John Chapman. I found out about John Chapman when a story called Dig was featured in the Weird Frequencies anthology. I really love that story, and I really love his YouTube channel, and so I've been watching it. And recently he was talking about a story that he was writing about a standard bearer, so someone like who would hold the banners for, like medieval armies when they go into battle. For basically the story is about a standard bearer who is seemingly immortal, and how interesting that could be because they were typically the first person that you would go for in battle. I mean, you're literally wearing like a target on your back. You're holding this giant, colorful banner. And I found out from him that typically these people were unarmed and things like that. And so it would be really awful to be in that position. So he wrote a story about a standard bearer, and it's called Standard. And it takes place right off the bat. It opens on a battlefield where we're introduced to the standard bearer named Thalin, who has all these injuries. He's literally missing an arm, which I'm not just saying this out loud. I'm realizing maybe there's kind of an in joke there because he's unarmed, he's missing an arm, and he's holding the standard for his army. And basically, the sun is rising on this battlefield, and as they're looking at the opposing army, they're feeling a little nervous because they look formidable. And they also have technology that Thalin's army doesn't have. You find out that Thalin's army wields sharpened wooden weapons, and their armor is made from leather, whereas the army that they're about to face they're wielding real metal swords and real metal armor. And it sounds like this is an alien technology to Thalin's army. Another important distinction is that Thalin has 5 fingers. He doesn't have 6, like the other men in this kingdom, this army that he's fighting with. They all have 6 fingers on each hand, whereas he has 5, which becomes important later on in the story. Before I get further into the details of what happens in the story, I wanted to read actually the opening because it's just gorgeous prose in my opinion. The way that he describes the colors in the on the battlefield as the sun is rising, and then he also involves the like plants and the smells and everything in a way that dovetails with what is about to happen, which I found amazing. I love his prose. The sun was finally cresting the distant mountains, its weaker companion having already limped free of their craggy embrace an hour before. A cold wind tugged at the mist languishing in the bottom of the valley, the river a thin ribbon of silver briefly glimpsed beneath. As the larger, brighter star came more fully into its ascendancy, the valley was bathed in shades of violet and gold. The long shadows cast by the mountains gradually retreated, yet a measure of shadow remained, a blemish of darkness that told of the army gathered at the edge of the forest. Scarlet blossoms of some nameless plant lent the air a tang of iron, as though a prelude for the slaughter to come. Beautiful. And the whole story's like that. I mean, his writing is just amazing. So what ends up happening is a knight from the opposing army rides up and tries to call off the fight. And the lord who the army is fighting for comes forward and is just real pissed off about this, and ends up basically losing his shit and telling his archers to fire on this guy. Before they do that, though, the standard bearer Thalin notices that this knight from the opposing army has 5 fingers, just like he does. So Thalon is sort of like thinking about this as he's watching this knight get essentially arrowed into the dirt, as well as his steed. Everything just goes down and under a hail of arrows. And I'm realizing there's a piece of information that I kind of forgot to introduce, so I apologize. I'm operating on fumes right now, I guess. But basically, the standard bearer is considered a good luck charm by the Lord for this army, and in that every fight that the standard bearer has marched into, they've won. And it sounds like this army that they're facing against is the last barrier between this lord and world domination, is basically what I got from it. And so Thalon bears all of the scars of all these wars that he's been a part of. He's like missing most of his hair because he's taken like axe chops to the head. He's missing his arm, and he's seemingly immortal, but he's also considered very lucky for the Lord. And so this 5-finger clue has set him apart. And so they watch this knight who was just shot by arrows hit the dirt, and then he stands right back up. The same way that Thalon can't be killed, this knight can't be killed. And so what then ensues is a battle between the two armies. And because the opposing army has metal weaponry and metal armor, despite the fact that they're outmatched, they destroy Thalon's army. And the Lord, who has just lost, disappears. So Thalon is thinking either he's been killed or he's fled. And so Thalon is then taken by the army who has won, and he blacks out and he wakes up and he's in what sounds like almost like a med bay out of Star Trek. And the way it's described, because Thalon isn't sure exactly what's happening, he's trying to process what he's seeing. He thinks that there are ropes that have been tied into his skin, and what it really is of course he's got IVs and things like that have been plugged in. That's not the right word for that, but I don't know. But so he's hooked up to IVs, and he's realizing that all of his injuries have healed. He was missing like an eye, he was missing teeth, he was missing an arm, and his hair, everything has come back. And the knight who he saw, get shot with all these arrows, comes in and basically starts talking to him, and it comes out that they are synthetic life forms, that this is actually like takes place in the far, far future, when the last remnants of humanity are now warring with a synthetic race that humans created, and humans have rolled the clock back and gone back, it sounds like, into the Stone Age, and they periodically have these they make these attempts at world domination, and they're constantly like beat back by these androids that they made who share the planet with them. And so you find out that this standard bearer is one of these androids, and he and the knight start talking. I'm trying to remember the knight's name. I'm embarrassed I don't remember that. Sitheniel. So Thalon is talking to the knight, who we find out is named Sitheniel, and he explains the situation. And as Thalon is thinking about this, his memories are starting to return. And what I really, really like about the ending is that it tells you enough to understand what's happening, but it doesn't explain it so much that it cheapens it. That's a really, really tough balance. And I really love reading stories that leave that space. And John does this here. And I just really, really, really love the ending, because I really, really loved the beginning, and I really, really loved the middle. And so in my opinion, he really stuck the landing here, which was, it basically sounded like there was some sort of infighting that happened, and Thalon at a certain point sided with the humans, or something happened. There was some kind of disagreement amongst the androids, and Thalon ended up choosing to be on the side of the humans. And so Thalon remembers this and then attacks Sitheniel and like rips his head off. and rejoins the human army, and picks up the standard that he'd been holding. Now he has two arms, and the standard is so caked with blood and it's baked in the sun at this point that it's just this big, black rectangle, enormous black standard. And it ends basically saying that that would be the new standard that would be used in their war against the androids, and that he would be the new lord now to lead that fight. And I just thought this story was awesome. It was just so cool. What a unique idea. And he did a painting here for what the banner was. It's an amazing image. I love this image. I love all the paintings in this book. I particularly like this one though. Yeah, amazing story. And I'm realizing I didn't give a warning for spoilers. So yeah, definitely go out and pick this up, order this. I got this off of Amazon. It got here pretty quick and in very good condition, and I'm super happy that I bought this. I can't wait to read more from this author. John Chapman is amazing, and if you buy this book, you're supporting an amazing artist who did this himself, and I think that's super important to support that kind of art. He's incredibly talented and deserves to be read a lot more. So go pick this up. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed the music that I used in the intro, I have all the links down below. And I'll see you soon.